Our next speaker is Professor Bitange Ndemo. He's the immediate former ambassador of Kenya to Belgium and the European Union. He previously served as permanent secretary in the Ministry of ICT and chairs the Kenyan Distributed Ledgers and Artificial Intelligence Task Force. This is somebody that we want at one of our conferences because these are people that actually make change in a way that many of us don't have the opportunity to take stage for. So please put your hands together for the professor.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, I must confess that I didn't know who I was going to meet here and whom do I see first. Robert in front, Eric, the people I work with. They didn't tell me what I was coming to do, but nonetheless, I am very happy that we are discussing Bitcoins. And I want, before I start working on my presentation, to pay tribute or to say a few things about Will Roddick. How many of you know Will Roddick? Will, amazing. He's the one who founded this Bitcoin before the Bitcoins came. Started tokenizing labor in poor neighborhoods, Kibera in Mombasa. He was arrested actually a couple of times for using illegal money. Now we are formalizing it. Robert talked about the infrastructure. And this is what we need. Those who knew earlier on built-in financial infrastructure such that when we buy something from Uganda, we have to pay them in New York before we do that. A lot of things have changed, and this comes at the right time. For example, a few years ago, most of our exports used to go to the UK. But today, most of our exports go to Uganda. And the Uganda also imports from Kenya. And the mode of currency is still the dollar. Ethiopia and Kenya is trading, but because Ethiopia's currency is not open, so Bitcoin is working. So things are working, and it's good to see a lot of young people here. But before I speak too much, this is what I was asked to speak. I will speak about it, but I will stay and also answer a couple of things. Basically, what I'm trying to say is Africa is experiencing rapid digital transformation driven by mobile connectivity. And because of that, fintech innovation, AI, digital public infrastructure, and open financial systems, all these are necessary. But those of you who are Kenyans, I want you to help me campaign that the bill in Parliament to regulate AI, we should fight and we remove it out of Parliament. Reason being, innovation precedes regulation. And we went through this. I was then the permanent secretary when Michael Joseph came to see me. We have this innovation, what do we do with it? And we started approaching everybody. The banks were fighting that M-Pesa should not be allowed to survive. And the president was good enough. He said, when he was briefed, we told him this is for small people who can't get their foot into the bank. And actually, M-Pesa became to be and became very transformative. We are at that stage of changing trade in Africa, of enabling intra-Africa trade by creating the financial infrastructure for cross-border trade. That's how serious this meeting is. So the growing internet and smartphones, and it's even growing bigger. We used to talk about lack of infrastructure for people, especially in the rural areas. That is going to be comprehensively solved. Um, I'm saying it because some of you don't know that there is a disruption that is coming, um, which would make sure that everybody has access to this. Then expanding digital entrepreneurship, which is growing, and I think some of speakers have said. Of course, youth population, increasing investment in digital infrastructure, what Robert spoke about. And we need to take this very seriously that if we build this infrastructure, uh, we give identity. I think there's somebody who spoke about identity to many people. And the payment which we need for cross-border trade and the data exchange frameworks. And when we get deeper, this thing we're being told that we need to increase tax in order to pay debts. And we have a lot of resources. Robert just told me that we have a lot of energy in the Rift Valley. And when we talk about energy sovereignty, we want to go to borrow from others to come and build, and we pay them. Ask yourself, why can't we tokenize what we have and then build the energy? A simple question. Then open money, interoperability of the systems, and this is what we must fight, that from M-Pesa to Bitcoins, we must create that openness, interoperability. And this is what we need to encourage the regulators to begin to think about. I don't think it's going to take 5 years before even policymakers begin to switch to CBDCs, meaning that everything is going to become digital. This is not prophecy. These are the facts. The only thing that is holding is that those who have benefited from having built the financial infrastructure, which is being weaponized now, are beginning to cause all kinds of, but that is not going to stop the momentum. So open money ecosystem, of course, open banking, mobile money interoperability, cross-border, which is, in my view, the biggest, because cross-border trade would minimize the conflict that we see in Africa today. People between even the Sudans, if this is realized, there will be less conflict, because conflict is sometimes caused out of fear, and people try to come together and avoid creating peace for the sake of prosperity. And of course, digital wallets and other stuff. Most people ask, what would happen to people who didn't go to school? That's a stupid question, because when M-Pesa started, because we are the ones who are telling people this thing is necessary, even people who are senior government officials could not send the first transaction. So we had to remove our money, and then you want to send your mom 5,000 shillings, you send it and they say, call her. Or she's been given money. That's how people begin to trust. So within a short period, many people began to adopt. And even those who didn't go to school, can anybody guess what percentage of Kenyans use M-Pesa? Guess what? The what? Almost 98%. Even those who don't know how to read, they go and say, my son has sent me 3,000 shillings, and those people give them the cash. So to say that what we are doing is not going to be understood by many people is nonsense. Once adoption begins, it will just grow, and it needs to grow because we are more and more trading with Ethiopia, for example, because their currency is not tradable. We need these mechanisms. Um, somebody talked about financial inclusion. This is it lowers the cost of. Right now, when you send money to somebody, it has to go to New York. New York has to get a few cents or dollars before. So this intermediation is going to create this. Access to credit is going to be expanded, the support of SMEs, of course, and the increased participation in digital economy. We have seen the benefits. Most people can borrow, those who behave, because credit score doesn't mean that if somebody is not honest, who doesn't pay, you will be discriminated. But if you are a reasonable person, credit score would actually lead you to get digital financing. But the fraud detection still is a problem. There are people who spend the whole of their days trying to figure out how to steal. And in agriculture, it's going to be much, much bigger because I don't need to say more. We want to digitize, and we have seen a lot of digitization of agricultural processes in Kenya. By doing this, you will change most of the lives, build the value chains and other things because of the financial intermediation. These are the challenges that we have. Regulatory fragmentation, although digital divide, somehow people get to learn, but the worst is regulatory fragmentation, cybersecurity, data governance concerns, and infrastructure gaps. Like infrastructure gap, this is going to be dealt with comprehensively in the coming few, not even years, because now we have this business of direct to sell, meaning everybody can actually get access to broadband. Then this is what I wanted to address. We need to harmonize regulations. Everything is dealt in its small area. Now people are looking at Bitcoin as if it's something foreign. It's actually money, a payment system. It doesn't need to have its own laws. And that's why I'm saying that we need to inform members of parliament to understand what is happening. And then, of course, we need to work more on digital skills development if we are talking about ownership of these emerging technologies, investment, and then open standards and interoperability, then we are all ready to go. So our vision, or my vision, is that economy is interoperable, payment, tested, digital identity, inclusive. People would be busy if we created an open Africa. If you look at China, when it was splintered between those south and north, China was nowhere. Somehow they began to integrate, and now it has become a major power. EU is trying to become wide and big. They fight inside. I used to be an ambassador there. And so I'm encouraging Africans that even when you fight, eventually financial or economic interests would bring you much closer. Some countries are there because of the economic benefits. And in Africa, if we are able to show that we are interdependent as countries, will bring more peace, less conflicts, and prosperity for the continent of Africa. And I think Bitcoin is going to do that because it would remove the pressure that we have now, that you have to change the money you have into dollars, and then you pay your neighbors. So in conclusion, Africa can lead the next wave of digital innovation by combining open money, digital infrastructure, inclusive, just restating what Robert said. So the last is, I thought I was going to speak before break and coffee and have a Kenyan cup of coffee. Thank you so much.
Okay, good. Appreciate Professor one more time.